What is your stance on abortion?
I think abortion is allowed, and
Okay.
it should be allowed within terms of society.
Okay. So, do you have any restrictions on that, or is that all the way through 9 months?
I say no restrictions. You can do it. The only part that I will say is will be kind of iffy is when you are about to, or when you're not legally allowed to, in the way of okay, they're already formed and they're ready to be born.
So at what age in the baby's life, we'll say, is that okay with you?
Yes, that's
Does
okay.
brainwave start or does a heartbeat start?
I say when they are able to live outside the womb.
Okay, so you're saying like 22 weeks ish, 23 weeks.
So, like viability.
Viability.
Like if there's viability without the help of machines.
Okay.
That's my specific wording.
Okay.
You can take the child out a lot earlier, but you need to use machines to keep them alive.
Right. So, I mean, I would make the argument. So, every life starts at some point, right?
Yes.
Every baby's born 9 months old. All of us are at once a fetus. We're all here now, so thus we all came from somewhere. So I would say that we should protect that life, that human life, from conception. Do you agree that life begins at conception?
It depends on how you define life.
So, life there's a subjective and there's an objective truth, right?
Okay, yeah.
So, objectively, every life has to begin at some point. Like you can't just say that, oh yeah, we appeared because we didn't.
Yeah. Life does not appear from nothing. There is some type of evolution
Right.
or step process for life to begin.
Right. So science proves that when conception happens, DNA is formed in a flash of light as soon as sperm hits egg, essentially, which then starts that life. And that starts the whole process of developing that child.
That
You know what I mean?
start the process.
Great.
But I would not call it a person at that point.
Okay.
In my opinion.
So, what would you define murder as?
I define murder as killing someone that is sentient.
Okay. So, would you agree with so your definition of murder is intentionally, unjustifiably killing someone who is sentient, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, our view of murder is going to be intentionally unjustified killing innocent human life.
Okay.
So, pretty much is that in your view is that if it's viability, I think the problem with the viability standard is that every human being, whether it's you, him, anybody, is going to have physiological needs for that. And those needs are going to be provided by someone or the other. For example, you mentioned about how it can be provided by a machine, but there's even people in hospitals who have feeding tubes and stuff like that that act as the umbilical cord does, or
in the heart.
Mm-hmm. To beat for them. So I would say that I'm just curious, in your view, what separates the human beings who are in need from the human beings in the womb?
Try to figure out how I want to work.
Go ahead, take your time. Yeah.
My separation of a human that is older and a person that is in the womb would be upon the fact that there is a foundational buildup in said mind or conscious.
Okay.
So a person that has been around long enough where they can have their own conscious thoughts, their own opinions, their own ideas is what makes humans necessarily humans.
Well, I would say that babies at a certain point have that.
They do.
Because they move, they kick, they search for food.
Well, are you?
Well, that's in the womb too.
Are you aware though, like what the what's his face? There's a test where they do for newborns and other animals. It's called the dot test. Well, it's actually probably called something different, but pretty much what they do is they put a dot on an animal or a human being, and then they see if they recognize themselves in the mirror. And this is actually an argument by a philosopher known as Peter Singer, where pretty much is that even born children do not experience things the way that we do. They don't recognize themselves in mirrors. They aren't self-aware. And I think that you can actually find papers that's called If Abortion Then Infanticide. And the reason why is because even outside the womb, children don't have a conscious experience the way that we do, or more likely it would be called like self-awareness. So even if we grant your view like of self-awareness is what determines something being murder or not, I think that opens us up to a really bad possibility of, as I said, infanticide, where pretty much is that we have children who can even be mentally handicapped, for example, that people can discriminate against them just because they don't experience the world like we do.
And it's not to argue against that point again, but more idea against it.
Mhm.
Consciousness has never been defined fully, and we don't fully understand what consciousness is in the term of what is scientific. But that is based on a scientific approach, not
Right.
belief wise. Because everyone has different beliefs, and therefore, ergo, there's going to be different ways people perceive consciousness.
So we're coming at this from a Christian perspective at heart.
Yeah.
Are you a Christian? Like, would you call yourself a Christian?
I would not say I'm Christian.
Okay. So I believe that every child is made in the image of God. And like, I mean, by statistics, we're missing 1/3 of our generation just due to abortion. Like, that's millions of people that aren't here, that were made by a creator to be here, in my opinion. We might not agree on that. That's fine. So I would say your argument is more of one on dependency. Would you say that? Like, when you're not dependent for your life on your mother, that's when it's not legal.
I would not say that.
Okay. So when you said when the baby can survive on its own outside of the womb, that's when it's illegal to do an abortion. Okay.
Whenever it's mentioned.
Right. So I would say that I was still dependent on my mom at probably up until the age of 8. You can't kill an 8-year-old. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm
I
saying?
feel what you're saying.
So like, I'm dependent for food. I'm dependent for shelter, clothing, warmth, all that stuff. Basic human rights. I was dependent on. Even still now, I live with my parents.
I think the difference is that not that. So I'm gonna ask you some questions, but I think the difference with, I think the thing that changes whenever a child is born is just the location, the means of how you provide for it. Like, for example, is that it is true that women provide nutrients, environment to the child with the womb, but even you provide nutrients to the child by feeding the child whenever it's born, and you provide it shelter with your home and so on. But I think that your standard of sentience can lead to a lot of problems, primarily because, as I mentioned, with infanticide, but also is that even if someone is not aware of something, that you can still harm them. For example, if someone's asleep or someone's comatose for even, let's say, 4 to 9 months, is that you can still murder them regardless. But also, I think a major problem in the view is that even conscious things that we know, are you vegan by chance?
No.
Okay. Even conscious things that we know is that we still can kill them anyway. And that, for example, we euthanize animals and we can consider it humane and whatnot. So I think that the sentient standard does not do the work. I think what does the work is that what you're talking about fundamentally is a human being with great potential in their life. Not a potential human, but a human. Yeah, you have a human being that's innocent, has done nothing wrong. And the act of abortion, what it's going to do is it's going to intentionally starve and deliberately kill that human life and prevent it from experiencing everything around us.
Okay.
I would
This
ask
brings
a
me to
question.
my question.
Go ahead.
What do you consider? When do you consider abortion wrong in your standpoint?
I consider abortion at all phases of
All
abortion
points?
wrong. All
Okay.
points.
Okay.
Even any type of abortion.
Okay. That helps me get a standpoint on where you guys are thinking.
Right.
So, with that in mind, and I feel bad I'm about to bring this up, but
It's
what
fine.
if it was an accident?
That don't if you don't want a child, don't have sex.
Well, are you saying that? Okay, so are you saying like a miscarriage
I'm saying I'm gonna go through the list.
Okay.
or like?
Miscarriages, accidental like mismanagement of like sex life and stuff. Like I'm talking about just things that accidentally happens that causes kids to exist.
So I'll start at the incest one.
Okay.
So you show me a scan of a child that succeeded, a child that was conceived by a loving couple. There's no difference. I understand there's an emotional difference from the woman carrying that child, all that. but among the baby, there's completely no difference. So just because it was conceived just terrible does not mean that that life still doesn't have value. Do you have any idea how many people are on an adoption waiting list right now in the country? Over 1 million. And there's 1 million abortions a year. So my worldview would be, why would we end this life, even if it was conceived in a way that wouldn't be ideal, when it could go to a loving family and live out that potential life that it has, that the child has, to fulfillment.
I get your perspective.
Right.
I'm not going to disagree upon your own perspective.
Right.
I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. I'm just saying I understand where you're coming from.
I understand where you're coming from.
I would say that the fundamental thing with our view is that I think everyone, well, I hope everyone agrees that is a fundamental evil in society and we need to help women who go through that, and that we need to treat and punish those who do the evil crime. So, but in our view is that fundamentally is that I think that the evil of is not fixed by an abortion. Is that I think that even still, if you had that child, let's say that you brought that child to whenever it was sentient or was viable, or that child is out walking around, is that the act of abortion intentionally kills that human life. And that I think that it's the same logic of why I would not kill a 1 or 2 year old who was conceived that way, is that I apply that the same to the unborn human life in the womb, is that all of them have the equal dignity and worth in virtue of being human, that we aren't allowed to take a course of actions to kill them.
Basically, two wrongs don't make it right, is what we're saying. So
okay, I understand your logic, how you're connecting things, and I get that.
Mm-hmm.
So then, where does your problem with it lie then?
Yeah, I mean, you did bring up miscarriages. Right. If you wanted to go to that, or
my issue where it lies with abortion, when people say abortion is murder, is it's fully your choice to do that. No one should no one should try to convince you, hey, you should do this, or no one should convince you, oh, don't do this. No one should be convincing you to do anything. It should be that individual's choice.
Well, okay.
So wait, I have a question. So would you agree that our choices that we do should be limited if they harm other people?
Should be limited if they harm someone.
Like I can't stab him right now because that would harm him.
Yeah, I get where you're trying to go with this, because you're about to say with the kid that if they're in the womb, you're basically harming an innocent life.
Yes.
I can already see.
You're connecting dots.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm already seeing where you're guys.
I got you.
Yeah.
This is verbal chess. No.
Verbal chess. We're trying to figure out how to actually make you guys pause for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you're bringing this idea to life, and you're saying that no matter when it's conceptualized, it's still a kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, when you say that, are you going based off of the idea belief of they have a soul, or are you going with the belief? Both.
Scientific.
Scientific.
Right.
And belief.
So I believe your soul starts when you're conceived.
Okay.
Just like I believe when life starts when you're conceived.
Yeah.
You can't have a life without a soul when you're human.
I would say that you can. Usually, whenever I argue or debate, like I just argue from the fact is that you're talking about a unique human organism, like animals, human beings. We all start at conception, but even from a Christian perspective, I think that ensoulment starts at conception. Is that you're a unique human being made in the image of God, and that you deserve dignity and worth in virtue of that. So I would agree both, pretty much.
Okay. So this brings up to the whole thing of perspective and religion, because everyone has different perspective and religion.
I would say that I can defend this from a secular and religious perspective.
Yes.
I can go both ways.
So, in my opinion, if there is another religion that's okay with this, are you going to look down on them for their belief?
No, I would try to have a conversation with them to try. I wouldn't try to force my religion down their throat. They shouldn't force it down my throat. You know what I mean? You can practice whatever religion you want to practice. I believe that in everything there's an objective truth. Okay. You know what I mean? If we didn't have objective truths in society, you could say murder is fine. Subjectively, murder is fine. You know what I mean? Okay. So, like, objectively, there's always a truth that needs to be found. So that's the reason we have the society we have today. We have a lawful, in order society. Without an objective truth, it would just be a mess. complete oligarchy, complete terribleness.
And I would say, to add on to that, is I think that people are going to disagree, like from different religions. Like, for example, I bring this up because I think it's also another evil, and it might even go along with the abortion debate. Is that, for example, the age of consent in Iraq is 9 years old, and I think you and me both agree that's evil and that we should not do that.
Great.
Like, and what I'm saying is that we can have a religion that comes and supports stuff like that. And even if we read the Old Testament, there are religions that, like the Canaanites and so on, that have done gratuitous evil. Is that we can disagree and then we can argue, and I think we can find a truth of how we ought and how we should treat people.
A middle ground.
Like a middle ground, there's compromise, but there's different worldviews regardless, and that we can use logic, reason, intuition to all find a form of how we should run our societies. And I think that we do that now, where, as I said, we agree that we should not have what we have in Iraq, and we should not have, what's it called, people just killing each other. We should have order to our societies, and we should pursue these peace and not harming other people. So I think that people can disagree with my religion, and I'll just say, well, they're wrong, and then we can
And I
go
would say that Jesus loves you, and I pray that you find that one day. So
Yeah.
I would say that.
exactly. And
I
then
wouldn't try to wipe out your view, as long as you don't try to wipe out my view.
yeah, and I think that what we can do is we have a legal system that we've created, and that we can pursue creating laws within our legal system the same way that we do everything else.
To bring up to this point,
Right.
the reason I get a little angsty whenever I hear people say abortion is murder is because of how people tend to go with it by forcing it on others.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, the laws are getting passed to ban it in general in different states. I think that's wrong because you're taking away the choice of an individual to make that conscious choice. You can inform them and you can tell them and teach them, but why would you stop them entirely of doing what they believe is right?
So that goes back to my previous point, is that this is getting to the prosecution of abortion now rather than the ethics of it. I would say that every single view is going to have things that they're going to believe that should be enforced in the name of justice. For example, if you're a feminist, you're going to obviously believe in the fair pay. I'm not sure it's the Fair Housing Act or Fair Pay Act in the 60s that required businesses to pay men and women equally.
I don't entirely disagree with that.
Yeah, and like what I'm saying is that you still are using force to require a business to do a thing that you desire or a thing that you think is right. And even still, with the Civil Rights Act, you still are enforcing people to not discriminate and things along those lines. We think that's justified. And I would say that I understand the aspect of we obviously shouldn't want a tyrannical government. I agree with that. But what I'm saying is that people can also can harm and be tyrannical towards other people. And that's why we create laws to protect other human life in the country. And also duct tape to protect our...
I get that. That's
That's
wonderful.
But
Duct tape is wonderful.
It is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it going on.
Okay.
Okay.
So you had brought up, not to switch the topic on you. If you want to say where you're at, that's fine.
Okay.
You had brought up like
Well, double check the
accidental.
time.
Okay. Accidental births.
Oh, I
Accidental.
need to go.
Okay.
I got class.
All right. Thank you for coming up.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Really
it.
nice talking to you.
How's it going?
No, I'm not from Turning
We're
Point.
completely
I-
separate.
I created my own organization.